I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Ashish sir, can you confirm?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible, but not your PPT.
not everyone.
Okay. So I hope now it's visible to everyone.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So very good morning, everyone. So myself, Lavanya here. I'm the sales head of Naso department, where I'm going to represent Navar's EduTech. We are the world's premier space education company where we are working with a mission to promote astronomy and space education across the globe. As a step towards realizing this vision, we proudly organize the National Astronomy and Space Olympiad every year. So now I would like to introduce your school students, which would be really a golden opportunity for them that could really serve as a launch pad into this captivating world of astronomy and space science. Now let us understand what is this all about, what exactly is NASO, how come it will be helpful, like what the opportunity is all about here, what it takes to excel the students highly competitive in naso olympia. So we are powering the students here with STEM based workshops that will encourage them towards critical thinking and hands on learning. So to develop a thriving ecosystem, we encourage and upskill the teachers here with the innovative school toolkit that you can find. This could really serve as the capacity building block for our teachers to empower their students to participate and gain the maximum out of NASO. Now let us break down each of these and have more clear understanding. So first comes the NASO. So I'll explain you what exactly is this NASO Olympiad, where we people are providing a platform that's like any regular academic competition, where it's an Olympiad that stretches beyond the confines of the classroom and into the universe, where you can imagine your students who are equipped with the knowledge to tackle questions about the galaxies, black holes, and other interesting astronomy and aerospace topics. It's not only competing nationally, but also standing shoulder to shoulder with peers from across the globe. Our participants here get a chance to engage with scientists and astronomers from leading space agencies. So while going through, we'll explain how would they get the chance. So what's more, like every engagement we have designed in the naso is to fuel their curiosity and build a solid foundation for their future careers. Now let me explain you what exactly is this olympiad structure. So we follow a very highly effective two level approach here. The first level is conducted right at your esteemed school itself, where it will be really a wonderful opportunity to host an event that would celebrate your students achievement locally through your school. And coming to the second level, which is conducted online, and this will expand the students' horizon to an international level, allowing the students to gauge their prowess against the brightest young minds into the country as they have the competition international. So now coming to the examination schedule. The level 1 will be happening in the late November to December as per the school schedule, and level 2 will be very common for everyone, which will be in February last week. And now everyone could have a question about what is the eligibility and the syllabus. So all the students, so like from second grade to 10th grade, everyone can participate. For students like from second to fourth grade, the exam syllabus will follow their class syllabus with science or EVS subject, And the students from 5th to 10th grade, the syllabus comprise of modern science and general science that we cover with. And here, like every participant is recognized by a certificate, but you can see we have the beautiful Naso STEM power-ups that we have designed. The journey is doesn't start and end with just an Olympiad. So we have our Naso STEM power-up programs, which is tailored to keep the students engaged and inspired throughout the year with various workshops and challenges. It's like from mastering lunar geography in Be a Moon Expert to the practicalities of model rocketry in the Rocket Blast Off Challenge. We ensure that the learning outcomes in all the ways. Now I have my young and dynamic instructor, Mr. Ashish sir, who is really having 8+ years of experience in this astronomy and space science education. And even he is a professional in telescope manufacturing, where expert in stargazing events. And the great thing is that he had overheaded various state and central government level astronomy projects. Over to you, Ashish sir.
I hope I'm clear and loud, ma'am, and visible to all of
Yes,
you.
yes, sir, you are.
So first of all, thank you, ma'am, for such a kind introduction. Well, what a wonderful day. I hope you all are enjoying your day, right? So good morning to all the dignitaries and respected organizations present here. It's an honor to be together on the same platform. We might be sitting across the globe from, we are here in India and you are somewhere in other parts of the world. But we again are tonight, we again are united here for a passion. And the passion is teaching students, giving information to the young minds of the country so that they can make the humanity better, right? So when it comes to astronomy and space science, this is such a subject that excites everyone, whether it is a kid, whether it is a young, whether it is an adult, teenager, old people, whoever it is. We just ask them like, is there only Earth that has life, or is there any other planet where the life exists, or is how this Earth is rotating, how this Earth is revolving, why do we have day and night, right? So we as a human being started getting all these fundamental questions in our mind. And I'll give you a small example. As a child, even when I used to go to terrace, right after the sunset, I used to wonder, what are these white dots in the sky? In daytime, these dots are not there, right? And all of a sudden, these dots are coming up in the sky in the night time and, lighting up the night sky. So I used to get wonder. I used to get baffled that these white dots, are they stars or what? Are they planets? How do I identify them? Can I see Saturn with my naked eyes? Can I see Jupiter with my naked eyes? So all of these fundamental questions I started asking myself. And I'm sure all of the humanity, including we or including the ancient people, whoever it is, the entire humanity has been driven by the curiosity, right? It is the curiosity that has taken us from that rocks era, from that ancient era to the rockets era, right? So those people who had no knowledge of science, who had no knowledge of time, who had no knowledge of any technology, they struggled a lot to survive on this planet, isn't it? So imagine that if we are just a bunch of early man and we are going for a hunting. So obviously we don't have a GPS, we don't have watch, right? We don't have such technology to basically to take the leisure. But we survived, right? And we survived by understanding the cyclic nature of the universe, right? Or by understanding how this universe is basically helping us unintentionally so that we can basically survive on the planet. So what did we do? We looked up in the sky and found out that, hey, there are some patterns in the sky that can be used to survive on the planet, right? So we learn how the stars are moving across the sky. We learn how the moon is moving around the earth. We learn how the earth itself is revolving around the sun. So all of these phenomenon gave rise to the fundamental science of the astronomy. So coming back to these STEM power-ups that we are going to talk about. Well, these does not only infuse the curiosity in the students' minds, but also make them STEM certified. Now, when I say that STEM certified, I'll come to this point in a minute. So they are basically getting, first of all, the basic understanding, the basic pillars of astronomy and aerospace, and also getting to understand how things have been started from the scratch. Because if you know how the science has started long back, then you know what is going to come, right? Because once the students understand, once they get appreciation, once they start appreciating how much effort our ancient scientists or our current scientists have been doing, they they learn it in a better way, right? So these special webinars are basically very much well crafted and designed by keeping children's age in mind. Okay, so as you can see here, the power up schedule is divided into two categories. Basically, one is for junior categories and another is for your senior categories. So first power up is basically focused is basically focused on the most closest celestial neighbor around the earth. Right now, when I say that most closest celestial neighbor, that means if we go to the space, right? If we go to the space, which is the first object that we will encounter? We will of course encounter the moon, right? Since it is the closest to us, first we have to reach the moon and then we have to reach beyond, right? So even as a humanity also, even we as a human beings also, we always gets mesmerized. When we look at the moon, we feels that, hey, sometimes the moon is half, sometimes the moon is crescent, sometimes the moon is bright big ball, right? So why is it happening? Why does the moon keeps changing its phases? And is there anything that this cyclic pattern can help me as a human being? Can this cyclic pattern help us as a humanity? Well, yes. So this is the power up. This is the first STEM power up for the junior grades, where the students gets to understand that moon is not just a big bright ball. It is an object. It is the most important object, and because of which the life is possible here on Earth. If moon had not been there in the sky, humanity would not have existed, because it is the object that basically crafted the weather on this planet. Without its presence, the weather that we currently enjoy would not have existed. Right now, right now, if I have exam, let us say if I have a naso exam, and I say that, hey, my naso exam is going to come after 3 months, after 4 months, after 5 months, right? We know how the calendar works, right? We know which month is it right now. We know when my winter is going to come. We know when my summer is going to come. But back then, if we talk about some hundreds of years back, we did not know all these concepts, right? So what did we do? We again look back at the sky, and after the thorough understanding of this moon pattern around the earth, we figured out that this can be used to make a calendar, because that is the well settled clock that we have in the sky, right? We don't need to tweak, we don't need to tune that clock, right? That is already there up in the sky, and that is how it's working. So in this power up, children will basically understand how the moon phases works, first of all how the moon phases works, and then based on that learning, they will make a product out of it. Okay, now what is a product? So product is basically the moon calendar. Okay, so this moon calendar will basically help them to understand the maths, because to understand what is the cyclic pattern of the moon, they have to delve into the mathematics. They have to understand how much time the moon is taking to go around the earth, how much time the moon is taking from new moon to the full moon, or full moon to the new moon, right? They have to understand this cyclic pattern, and once they understand the physics and the mathematics behind it, they will be able to make a product out of it. Right, how exciting it is, right? I mean, children are not just learning verbally, they are able to utilize that learning into a practical manner, right? And this is what we call as hands-on learning, right? And of course, I'm sure all of you must agree that the hands-on learning is the best way of learning, right? Because until unless children get to make the things, things will not go in their mind. So this is how the human brains also will work, right? Once we do the things, once we have the hands-on learning, the learning basically, the level of learning, or the the way we learn, it basically spikes up, right? So this is the first power of be a moon expert, where the students will understand all of this and make their own moon calendar or moon tracker, right? Coming to the second power up, or basically the same power up for the senior grade section power up. So in this, Chandrayaan 4 and beyond. Now, when I say this term to the students, Chandrayaan 4, did we launch Chandrayaan 4? The students are like, well, no, not yet, right? So we then tell them that yes, Chandrayaan 4 and Chandrayaan 5, Chandrayaan 6, Chandrayaan 7, what is going to be there? So I'm sure all of you might have listened that Chandrayaan 3 created a buzz in the entire world, right? It created a buzz among all the students, all the general public, because before that, very few had an idea of space exploration. But this is the mission that actually created such a deep spark in the children's mind, right? So we know that how important that mission was, right? Because that basically put the India as a fourth country to reach the moon. So we have done certain experiments, and we have successfully landed on the moon. Now everybody knows that it included lander, it included rover, but most of us don't know, or most of us don't get the idea of how those actual lander worked, right? How those things basically functions, how do we send such a big mission from here, or from the earth all the way to the moon? How do we do these kind of mission? So in this power up, children and the students are basically going to have a detailed observation of a lander that is very much inspired from Chandrayaan 3. So just hold on a minute. I'm gonna show you that lander. I'm sure that many of you might be excited to see how the Chandrayaan 3 lander looks like, because we haven't seen that. We have seen only in the images. We have seen those landers and rovers only in the videos. But here I'm gonna show you that, and of course, when the students attend this workshop, they will also see how an actual lander works. So just hold on a minute, and I'm going to show you. Well, here it is. So this is basically the inspired version of Chandrayaan 3. Okay, now it is not just a model. Okay, this is a properly functional model of Chandrayaan 3, where we have sensors. You can see one sensor over here, right? You can see display over here. Just hold on a minute. Yeah. So I'm sure that you can see this. So this model of Chandrayaan 3 has a proper functioning electronics. It has got Arduino board, it has got gas sensors, it has got pressure sensors, it has got humidity sensors, temperature sensors, ultrasonic sensors. So children and the students basically understand how these sensor works, right? How did we know that where to land? How did the lander know that, okay, now it is my time to land? How does the lander know that so and so is the temperature? How does the lander know that so and so is the pressure on the moon? Because that is a very first parameter to understand, right? Because when we plan for some trip, right, when the children plan or when the students plan for some trip, they say that, hey mom, hey dad, the temperature is gonna be very cool over there, right? That is the very first parameter that we check upon, right? So same case goes for the missions as well. Once they land on the planet, once they land on a surface, the very first stage or the very first criteria is to check how the weather is, or basically how these parameters are: temperature, pressure, humidity, right? So all of this electronics will be embedded in this particular product, and the children will basically get understand. Now, after that, what? Yes, they are able to, they will get the live demonstration of Chandrayaan 3 lander and rover, and after that, after the understanding of this, they will make their own 3D moon model. Okay, so we will provide them the the right resources, and they will be able to make their own 3D moon model, right? So how exciting it is, right? So junior grades students are basically learning how the moon works, how the cyclic nature of the moon helps us in in developing the current technologies, right? And how the senior grades students will basically understand how the electronics work, because the space electronics is one of the most important aspects in space exploration, right? We cannot send landers, we cannot send rover without any electronics, without any sensors involved, right? So with this power ups, with this STEM power ups, they will get the understanding of this. Now when I say the STEM power ups, yes, that means children are learning the science behind it, right? Children are learning this technology behind it. What is the technology was used in those missions? They're learning the engineering aspects of the products, right? And of course the maths is the language of the universe, right? It is involved everywhere. So it's I'm so excited to say that children are students are going to have a thorough understanding of these in these power ups. So now we can go ahead for the second power up, right? Which is for the junior. And oh wow, the name itself is quite exciting, right? The Rocket Blast Off Challenge. So we talked about moon. Now, can we go to the moon without having any rocket? Absolutely no, right? So these are the machines that takes us from one planet to another planet, right? So in case of the moon, of course, we require rocket. So once the children understand how the moon works, how the moon cycle works, right? Then they will get the understanding how the rocket itself works. What are the principle behind it, right? How the rocket is basically going from one place to another place, right? What kind of fuel we are using? What is the aerodynamics involved in it, right? Why does the rocket shape is in a particular way, right? What kind of boosters we are using? What kind of solid fuel we are using? So they will basically understand how the real scientists basically work. When you tell them about the scientists, what they think, they just think of some curly hair sitting in front of a computer, right? And I'm sure that everybody, every student gets this, get themselves excited that hey, I also want to be like them. I also want to feel how real scientists feel, right, when they actually work for the rockets. So in this power up, they will basically understand the science behind the rocket, right? When we say that, oh, it's rocket science, is it going to be difficult? Well, no, not that difficult actually. So in this power up, they get the understanding the science behind the rocket. They get the understanding the technology behind the rocket, right? What kind of combustion chambers we are using, what kind of internal mechanism the rocket uses. All of this understanding they receive in this power up, right? And of course after that they also get the they also get the stencil, or basically we provide them the PDF of the rocket, which they can make their own rocket and launch them, right? And then while launching them, because learning never completes without an experimentation, right? So once they understand the concepts, they make the things, they test it out, do the experiment. Let them learn on their own, right? But of course, they require guidance, right? So once they have the proper guidance, once they have the proper understanding, they will make things in their own. They will do the experiments and understand that, well, yes, this is how the rocket works. Let them experiment, right? So this is how the junior power up will be for the smaller grades, right? Coming to the senior grades, now it's tinkering with the space. Well, many of us might be wondering, what is a tinkering with the space? Are we going to tinker it out or what? Well, you know, children or basically students need critical thinking, right? We want them to improve their critical thinking skills. We want them to improve their thought process, right? The way they are thinking. We just don't want to teach them what to learn. We want them to learn how to learn, right? Because then only they will be able to do the innovation, right? So this is the power up where basically they will be using a software, and using that software, they will be able to make their own 3D spacecraft, Well, yes, it's a spacecraft. So we have so many spacecrafts in the universe, right? We have Juno, we have Cassini, we have Voyager, we have Chandrayaan 3, right? We have Mangalyaan. So lot many, this entire solar system is filled with so many spacecraft. So senior students will be able to make their own spacecraft, right? And of course, it feels like they are working on a mission, right? So everybody wants to feel that, hey, I want to be a mission director, I want to be a project scientist, right? I want to be a project engineer. So this power up will give them a thorough understanding of how they can work on a software and make a spacecraft, right? So this will basically navigate them through different levels of learning. So since software is involved, of course, maths is involved, design aspects are involved, right? Even architecture is also involved, right? So science, astronomy and aerospace is such a field that inculcates rest of the subjects, rest of the science, and that is the beauty of astronomy, right? So with this, now we can move ahead to the third power up and let's see what it holds for us. Okay, so third power up for the junior grades is going to be aero modeling workshop. Okay, now maybe some of you might have heard this term called aero modeling. Well, I'm sure you might have heard the term called aerospace, right? So aerospace basically deals with those things which fly around the earth, which fly on the earth, right? So we are talking about aircrafts, we are talking about jet engines, right? We are talking about the rocket engine and all those things. So along with astronomy, we also cover aerospace domain, right? In which children basically understand how these big aircraft fly in space, right? As a child, when I used to look at sky and just stare at those big aircrafts flying around, I used to wonder that how these big machines are flying in space or flying in basically air, right? I'm not able to jump more than 2 feet, right? I'm not able to jump more than a certain height. How these big machines are going up so high and flying, taking people from one country to another country. So this actually baffled my mind, right? And of course, this is one of the greatest invention in the history of humanity, right? So this workshop is purely focused on how the aerodynamics of aircraft work, right? They gets to understand how the shape of the aircraft is designed. So this shape of the aircraft is not just a normal shape, right? In scientific term, we call it as airfoil, right? So children basically understand what is an airfoil, why does it, or is it there, why don't we have a round display, round aircraft, why don't we have a rectangular aircraft, right? So all of this aerodynamic concepts they will be learning in this particular workshop. And of course they will be also make it on their own and understand how the country control surfaces work, right? How you can control an aircraft, what kind of um, what kind of technology we are using, right? So when I ask the students that, hey, how does a pilot know which direction they have to go? How does a pilot know how high the aircraft is right now? How does the pilot know how much pressure is around? So all of this answers will be available in this power up, right? So this is gonna be very exciting power up for them, because here they are able to learn things which they actually see in day-to-day life, right? And once they have the understanding of this particular concepts, the way they will look at it again, it will be completely different, right? So I'm sure that this will give them the curiosity, this will give them this will make them understand the rest of the subjects also, right? Now coming to the next power up, which is basically space blanket challenge. Okay, I'm sure that students might wonder that, do we have a blanket in space? Well, no, of course, right? We don't have any blanket in space, right? Then what is this power up about, and what am I going to do in this power up? Well, you know every spacecraft that we send in space, right, whether it is by ISRO, whether it is by NASA or any other space agency, right? Or whether we are sending it now, or let's talk about the past one as well. So every spacecraft that is in the space is being bombarded by heavy radiation, and those heavy radiations are not helpful radiation; those are basically harmful radiation, Okay, they can damage the electronics, they can damage the sensors sitting inside, they can damage the optics sitting inside the telescope, right? And of course, if we are sending any spacecraft to the outer world, to the space, we have to keep them safe, right? We have to make sure that the safety is 100%, the safety is top notch, right? So to safeguard our spacecraft, we put a blanket around it. Okay, and but it is not a blanket that we use in day-to-day life, of course, right? It is a blanket that is going to protect these spacecraft, that is going to protect the electronics. So just like during the winter time, we cover ourselves with a blanket, right, to keep ourselves warm. Since space is also cold, it's freezingly cold. Okay, the temperatures are in way minus, right? So to save our spacecraft, we have to keep a blanket around it, right? And when I say the blanket around it, it is not an actual blanket that we use in day-to-day life. It is a blanket that actually looks like this. So I'm sure that if you can see, the the covering of this particular ramp is not is not in an unusual color. Basically, it is a it is covered with a gold film. Right now, you might be wondering, why does the gold film is there on the spacecraft? Well, this film is going to protect the spacecraft from radiation. Okay, it is not going. It is it will stop the radiation right there itself and not let the heat enter in. Right, and with this, the spacecraft is safe. But children gets the children gets baffled that, can I make that space blanket in my home? I also want a space blanket, right? So this power up is all about that. So once they understand how these insulation material works, once they understand how the spacecraft is being safeguarded by these kind of technology, they will get to make their own space blanket right in their home. Now how excited it is, right? How exciting it is, right? Children will think that, can I make that space blanket when I'm on my desk in my home? They will, and when we say that, yes, you also can make your own space blanket, right? All you just need to do is sign up for this power up, and we will be right there to teach you how to make a space blanket, right? And with this, they will understand how the how the technology behind the radiation shielding works, and what kind of material do we use, what kind of heat treatment are involved in making those blankets. All of these technological answers will be available in this STEM power up, right? And I'm sure that this power up is going to definitely help them even to crack naso exam also, because these power ups involves lot of critical questions, right? We discuss lot many critical answers, so that they understand that, okay, yes, I can, maybe I can, maybe I get some questions from these power ups also, right? So these power ups is also are also going to help them in cracking the naso exam, right? I'm sure these will be beneficial for the students. And with this, we can proceed and go ahead for the next slide. And so now, if there is any question, dignitaries can ask at the end or now. So we are go for that. So over to you, Lavanya ma'am, now.
Okay, thank you, Ashish sir. Thank you so much for the awesome explanation. So I hope this would be a great information to all the teachers, like where the power-ups importance have been mentioned by Ashish sir. Now we have our head content team of NASO Science, Mrs. Parul Kaushal ma'am, where she is having 15 plus years of teaching experience and is even co-author for several K-10 science and maths books for various publishers. In addition, she has even developed Olympiads and assessment tools also. Over to you, Parul ma'am.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. And good morning, all of you, as well as good afternoon. Um, Actually, I am here to make you understand or to explain what actually the questionnaire will have, which techniques of questions we will have in our Olympiad exam, right? So as you all can see, all these are some techniques which we are going to use, or which we use generally use in making our questionnaire, right? But as you can see, as these are 14 techniques, the all of them we can't use in all the grades, right? So it depends on grade to grade. Like if we are preparing for lower grades, we'll use closed test based questions, or comic strips questions, or small flow charts, or small diagrams which students can able to answer, right? And if we are preparing for higher grades, but obvious, we'll use graph based question, we'll use case study based, application based, statement based, venn diagram, and numericals, and many more, right? So it depends on level to level which grades we are preparing for the exam, right? Secondly, what exactly we want from the students before giving this Olympiad exam? We want that students should have, firstly, the concept should be clear. They have a clarity in the concept. Secondly, they should have a thorough knowledge of each and every topic. Thirdly, they know how to filter their information. They have so much knowledge, but how to use that knowledge in real world. So they should know all these things. Like what exactly we are testing, we are analyzing from the student. Like if I take an example, if we are choosing closed test type based question or comic strip based question, we are analyzing their reading and comprehension skills. If they know how to read and read fast, they can answer the question very well, right? And if I take an example, like if I take the question of cross-based question, or if I take a case study-based question or application-based question, then it means we are testing their analytical skills. Analytical skills means how they can analyze the situation, how they are analyzing, and how they are answering that question, right? And if I say, if we select chronological order questions, or graphical based question or flow charts, here we are analyzing their evaluating skills, how they can evaluate the things, how they can contrast the thing, how they are comparing the things. So these are some techniques, and because these are some techniques which we use to test their different skills, right? Now, as Lavanya told, that we have two levels, level one and level two, and we have varieties of questions, right? So we have to segregate these questions in level one as well as in level two. So what are these points, or what we keep in mind when we are shifting from level one to level two? We know that level one is very simple, right? So we are shifting from simple to complex for level two. We are shifting from known to unknown. We are shifting from concrete to abstract, right? So level one will be simple, but level two will be not that simple. Okay. I would rather say that level one will contain lower order thinking skills. That is how to apply, how to remember, or how to understand. And when we are shifting from level one, that and to level two, that means we are shifting from lots to HOTS. HOTS means higher order thinking skills. That means students should know how to apply, how to create, how to evaluate, right? So all these skills, all these things, we want that students should be clear of, right? What we are focusing on, we are focusing on reducing the inference and filtering the information so that they can understand the concept better, right? So these are our skills, or sorry, these are the techniques which we use in keep in mind when we are preparing the questionnaire. Yeah, this is an example. If I take an example, this is an application based question, and And I know that this is a very big question. So biology teacher asked students of grade 9, name the protective tissue of plants which have no intercellular space. These cells have, after differentiation, become dead. These cells don't have protoplasm and nucleus and are filled with resin. So this question, I know for Olympiad, this question is a very big question. But what the student has to focus on. Students should focus on some words only. That means if I take, if any, for an example, he should focus on protective tissue of plant. He should focus on no intercellular space, no nucleus, dead cells, and have resins. And if the concept of the student is clear, he will correlate these characteristics with the answer, right? And as you all know, that the answer will be A, that is epidermis. Student A has given the correct answer, right? So if the concept is clear, so he will be able to give an answer within a second. So, and how to answer this question, he should have that much skills, that if the question is very large, if the question is very big, which words I have to focus on, right? So I hope I make you understand what are the different techniques or what are the different types of question we will be giving in this Olympiad, right? Thank you so much, and over to you, Lavanya.
Thank you, Paranima. That's really a very great information about the Olympiad. And I hope everyone had some great tips and tactics about the Olympiad's questionnaire based that Parul ma'am have explained. So this is the way like we people conduct the preparatory classes for the students especially, where for every grade there will be a different preparatory class that she'll be taking. Now let us come back to the 1 minute. Yeah, to the awards. Let's talk about the awards and the prizes here. So we people will be celebrating like every milestone the students achieve with us. So here in the second level, we have two levels of awards. So one is a national level award where the top three winners they will be sent to ISRO trip, and the next three runners will be awarded with a MacBook and so on, so that you can see we provide telescope, student sat kit, and the NASA coupon also. Well, coming back to the international awards, where we people will be selecting the top three students, it will be from overall participants, like nationally and internationally also, where they can win a sponsored trip to NASA. And the runner up wins as an ISRO telescopes and many more. So here coming back to the students registration process. So here the pricing will be shared by CKBS team, which will be as they are in coordination with the NASO team. And we have a school NASO toolkit over here where you can find, where actually this is an access to a library for the school that includes the NASA preparatory books, which is a comprehensive book of 5 set of each grade from 2nd to 10th grade. And even we have an astronomy space guidebook also, which will be provided with a set of three for each grade, again from 3rd to 9th grade. And in this, we have added 10 online live sessions on astronomy and space classes, especially for the teachers, so which will be conducted for free. To get used of these patterns and questions, we have online mock test access, which will be provided to all the registered students. It's an LMS that we come up with. And coming back to the benefits to the students, the student whoever registered in NASO, we have different benefits for them. First one, we can proudly say that they will be getting an ISRO recognized certificate from Navas EduTech, which will be really helpful for their future. And next, they will be participating in this NASA Power Up sessions on astronomy and aerospace topics, where they will be understanding more about it as you have listened about Ashish's session. And third, we people will provide a free LMS login, which is a mock test. Every month, they can come and have a practice test in that LMS. And next, we provide exclusive preparatory session for all the students of all the grade exclusively by Parul ma'am. Thank you, and I hope if you have any questions, you can come back with that.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. And then I have one question for Ashish.
Okay.
Um, if you can explain a little bit about the moon calendar again, if you can do that.
Ashish said they want the explanation regarding the moon calendar, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. So, respected sir, first of all, once again, good morning to you. Now, this moon calendar workshop that we are talking about is basically all about the moon because it's a moon workshop, right? It's a moon calendar workshop. Let me just give you a brief about it first. All of us have seen the moon in the sky, right? And we see it in day-to-day life, right? But most of us are not aware that how helpful the moon is, whether it is about in day-to-day life or whether it is about the current technology that we are using right now. So right now we have the calendars in our phone, right? We have the GPS in our phone, right? We have the different technology around us, right? All of this basically came after the understanding of the moon, right? Now we know that 1 month is of 30 days, 1 month is of 29 days, or 1 month is of 31 days, right? We know all of this concept now. But where does this have come from? How did we figure out that 1 month is have to be this schedule only or have to be this duration only? This understanding came from the moon, right? Because the moon takes 28 days, 29 days to revolve around the earth, and that is basically led to 1 month duration, right? And we understood that okay, the moon is taking so many days to revolve around the earth, and we learned from that pattern and made the calendar out of it. How exciting it is, right? I mean, we now nobody knows that what is the origin of the calendar, but back then, of course, this is how it was, right? So the students first get the understanding of how moon is revolving around the earth, how moon is changing phases, how moon is big bright ball sometimes, how it is half moon, how it is crescent moon, why is it changing the shapes and all those things, and can we use that learning to make a product? Yes. So this is the workshop. This is a moon calendar basically. Using that learning, using those concepts, they can make. So if I wants to know that what the moon phase is going to be after 30 days, what the moon phase is going to be after 2 months, can I know that without using any technology, just by using maths and science? You can do that. So this is the product. This is the moon calendar that they can use to predict mathematically and scientifically that how the moon phase is going to be after a certain period of time. So this is what about the moon calendar is. So there's a clock, right? There's a clock that works based on the moon, right? So we call it as a moon calendar or moon clock basically, right? So children gets basically excited that now I can use the science and make some practical application, right? And make some product out of that, and this is where the learning begins. So I hope, sir, I have answered your question. If there is any, please go on.
Yes. Yeah. That's clear now.
Okay, great enough. Thank you, Ashish, sir.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, any more questions, sir, that you have again?
Yeah. The next question is got to do with the uh, class that they will be having. Okay. So some of them want to how is it going to be done in case since we are already doing it online. So if there's a session for them and they are not able to attend the session,